The 14-year-old has sex. How large does the age gap have to be between the 14-year-old child and their partner before the child can no longer meaningfully consent?
This is actually like such a hard question. I don't know what the right answer is to this. I don't think I can give you one. Can I?
Okay.
Here's this. Can I ask you a question? Are you ready? It's not even fun with you because I
Yeah.
think you'll just bite bullets. You don't care. Okay, here you go. Ready? Can a 14-year-old consent to have sex with a 14-year-old?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to ask why. I'm going to ask another question. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. There is an establishment where you can go to have sex with other 14-year-olds. But when you go into the room, the lights are turned out so that you don't know who it is, okay? So you go to the place, and also neither party knows who it is, okay? Everybody's tested, no STDs, nothing stupid like that, okay? Protection, all of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You go to the establishment, you enter the room as a 14-year-old, you have sex with another 14-year-old, you come out. Is that sexual encounter ethical?
Um, I mean, I don't really think ethics are a coherent concept, but sure.
Okay. Like, can they meaningfully consent to it, right?
Yes.
Okay. What if you go to that same place, but it's a 14-year-old and a 30-year-old? Why would they or wouldn't they be able to consent if it's the same dark room?
Yeah, I think they would be able to consent.
Jesus. Wow, you just Mr. Grilled your way through that one, huh? Okay.
How do you, what is your answer?
Um, I don't know if I want to answer because I'm already into so many fucking pedophile compilations or whatever. Um, I think it hits on some very interesting aspects related to consent. I feel like the answer is probably yes, because most of the reasons why we would say children can't consent to adults have to do with retaliatory factors afterwards or things related to post-sex things that the person can't account for. But it feels really weird because a lot of people will give the blanket answer that like a minor can't consent to sex with an adult, but they don't actually know why. And they'll say, well, a minor can't consent to sex. But that's not true. Minors can consent to sex, but they can only consent to sex with other minors. But why is that? And that's like a very I don't think most people, given that prompt, I don't think most people could actually work through that. When you say minors can't consent to sex, that's not actually true. That's a shortcut for minors can't consent to sex with adults. Why can they consent to sex with other children instead of with adults? Yeah. I don't think most people could process that. I think they short circuit and just start screaming pedophile.
This is literally exactly what I was like. A lot of the questions that I have in Ask Hole are like very quietly trying to sideways poke at this, and that's what my question that I asked is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how big is the age gap before they can no longer consent?
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, in that phrasing, it implies that like consent is a thing that is dependent not on the act itself, but rather like something else,
Yeah.
which I don't think is super coherent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like fine to say that you can't, but like I wouldn't rest it on the consent argument. I would rest it on other arguments.
Yeah. I wish that people would deal with the issue of like informed consent more, because it's really more important than like just consent, because that's kind of like the idea of like, can you say yes to something is like kind of stupid. Like a 12-year-old can say yes to something, but the question is like, do you fully understand the ramifications of everything coming after something? And that's something that a lot of people don't have a good grasp of. Like they don't have like good language to deal with that, you know. But
Yeah, like people are so obsessed with like whether or not, kids can consent to what ages, but people are not talking about whether or not kids can meaningfully consent to going to college.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, when you talk about ramifications for things, what is a harder decision? When you're 17, can you consent to having sex with a 30-year-old? And it's like, no, that's the most evil thing in the world. Okay, well, when you're 18, can you consent to taking on 50, 60, 70,000 dollars of debt to choose a career for the rest of your life when you haven't even worked a job yet? And it's like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. We have a whole institution with children doing that, you know? So yeah, it's an
I know it's
interesting, yeah.
ridiculous. I feel like I was trying to think of like what are times like I made a choice as a child that I ended up deciding was actually bad, which like maybe it's not fair for me to ask because my parents were like extraordinarily strict and I didn't get to make choices at all.
Hmm.
But I did make a choice to like attempt to go to college for at least 3 months. And like I did end up having to pay the college an annoying amount of money.
Hmm.
And like looking in hindsight, I'm like, wow, that was not informed. Like if I had known a lot more, I would have decided that that was a terrible decision.
Yeah.
But all of the adults in my life are like, yeah, college is good for you.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a challenging one, I think. Yeah.